I am an artist, and like many of you, I have been drawing for a very long time. But the one thing that I haven't been able to draw successfully is backgrounds. I've touched on them in past sketchbooks, but I've never really buckled down and tried to teach myself how to draw them. So in today's video, I will do just that. Teach myself how to draw backgrounds. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jake Glowingmoss and I'm an aspiring illustrator and comics artist. Stick around if you want to see me improve or even make some stuff. With that being said, like and subscribe and comment if you want to. Let's get into the video. For my first background painting, I intended to copy the reference exactly as it appeared. This is before I looked at any educational materials. I just drew and hoped for the best. I started by blocking out the shapes in grayscale. I had originally planned to fill in the color with gradient maps, but I'm still not super comfortable using those yet, because while I have been drawing for a really long time, I honestly haven't made that much digital art in my art journey. So with the start of this YouTube channel, I've really started applying myself more in the digital art space, and that has made me have to teach myself a lot of new skills. What I ended up doing for color was I picked the colors exactly from the reference image, which I don't like, but I ended up doing it for the rest of the images in this video, which I really don't think is good. I struggled a lot with the building on top of the island, and you can see me suffering throughout the duration of this video, and ultimately I didn't really like the way it turned out, but I just wanted to practice and have it over with. So for this next painting, I did another natural looking location. I unfortunately color picked from the reference again, but I did use a lot of the new Procreate brushes, so I'm pretty proud of how much I experimented in this one. The tree brush that you see me using, the big blobby one that kind of makes it look like leaves, I actually made myself, and I still hadn't looked at any educational materials, so the perspective on a lot of things is wrong, and I can see a lot of things wrong with it now looking back and recording this voiceover. But the biggest problem I see with this piece is the freaking bridge. That thing drove me insane throughout the duration of this drawing. You saw me adjust it like 86 times using Liquify, and then I think, yeah, I go back and completely repaint it at this point, and it just drove me up the wall. And overall, I'm not proud of this piece. I hate it, but I'm glad that it's over, and yeah, I hope that if I make anything like this in the future, it's better than this. So this one is my last landscape, and it actually took me the least amount of time. I think it's because it's 1-point perspective, and I actually watched some videos about backgrounds before I started making it. I chose this reference because it looks like something that could be in the world that my OCs are in, and you can learn more about them in my OC video linked in the card right here. Ooh. Anyways, moving on. I added noise and chromatic aberration to this at the end, which I think made it look really cool, especially the water tower, which is my favorite part of this whole piece. And I also used that tree brush that I made in this one a lot, and you can tell. But I think that overall I'm really proud of this one, and I think that the foliage looks really nice, and I added some good texture to all the bits. But yeah. So this one felt a lot more natural to me for whatever reason. I felt like I was able to make it look a lot closer to the reference, but also just way better in general. I feel like geometric shapes like buildings and stuff are way easier for me to simplify in my style, but just because they're very concrete, they're very straightforward, but with natural shapes it's a little bit different. I was able to block in the shapes very easily, and I feel like the perspective on this one ends up making the most sense out of all of the drawings I did. When you look at it at the end of it, it looks kind of tilted to the right, or my right as I'm recording this, on the top, which is not ideal, but I still think it looks better than the other ones. I tried a few different brushes for textures and effects, but I still don't feel like it's adequately stylized, and I feel like if I put one of my characters in here, it would look really weird. But yeah, ultimately this one is fine. I like it more than some of the others, but it's just fine. And for my last study of this video is this is this residential looking building. I didn't use any perspective grids for this. I just kind of winged the way everything should be shaped. I thought I was gonna line art it, like do lines for it, and I quickly changed my mind because that would take forever, and I didn't like the way it looked at all. I learned a lot with this one. Most notably, I used color jitter for the brick textures on the wall, which I think was genius. I just cranked up darkness and lightness jitter on my main square brush and just went in and made all those little shapes. And I think that was perfect. Like, it just kind of implies the perfect amount of the perfect amount of brick shape. It's not overly detailed. It looks really good from far away and from up close. I'm really geeked about that. I think it looks really good. But I'm super proud of that. And I used, I think I finally was figuring out a workflow when I got to this one because the shading looks good, and I was using the lasso tool a lot, which I think is really helpful when you're doing background studies, for getting those big rectangles in. But yeah, overall, I'm a big fan of this one. I think it's really good, and I definitely would draw something like this again. But yeah, here's the finished piece. So you may be wondering, Jade, why didn't you draw any interiors? Well, dear viewer, I did. A lot! But they drove me so insane that I rage quit all of them. That being said, here are all of my half-finished interior sketches. So while these play, I'm going to speculate about why I think I couldn't finish them. So for this bedroom one, I really struggled to identify the horizon line in the reference image, and it made me feel like I was losing my gourd. Oh my god, if anyone has any recommendations for learning perspective, please leave them in the comments. Anyways, for this living room one, I drew it, then I traced it, and then I drew it again, because when I drew it initially, the couch just like, I couldn't get it. It was driving me up the wall, but I couldn't get it to look properly sized in relation to everything else. So I went back in and I traced it, and I traced the couch, and then I just freehanded everything else, but then I went back in and traced everything else just to get the proportions right on it. And then I went back in and I drew it again so that I could get, like, kind of engorge that into my memory. And for the kitchen one, I really felt like I was succeeding at this point while I was laying down the line art and stuff, the sketch before I did anything else. But then I started putting in color, and it made me feel crazy. I don't know what it was, but it made me feel really crazy. Overall, this video was a lot of work because it was a lot of pushing through my self-doubt and telling myself I could actually finish the backgrounds. It was so far out of my comfort zone. In my approximately 10 years of drawing cumulatively, I don't think I have ever finished a background illustration up to this point. I'm so proud of what I've learned throughout this process, and the goal was to draw backgrounds, and draw backgrounds I did. I think going forward I will feel much more comfortable drawing backgrounds, and I will definitely draw more of them in the future, especially when I draw my OCs. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram, linked in the description. My commissions are also open, and I'm trying to get verified on VGen, so if you could commission me, that would be really helpful, and it's linked in my description. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!